How's it going, friends? Welcome to the Twin Cities. This show tells the stories of the people that we've been lucky enough to help relocate to the Twin Cities in hopes hearing directly from them is beneficial to you, helps you along the same journey. I'm your host, Jesse Lynch. I run the hardest working real estate team in the game. We're called To the Twin Cities, and we are here at our office in Northeast Minneapolis. We call it The Shop. I'm joined by my co-host and arguably the best agent on my team, Steve Wilk.
Hello, what's up?
Thanks for being here. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to subscribe or follow or whatever on YouTube, Spotify, or wherever you listen and watch. And of course, if you want to work with the aforementioned hardest working real estate team in the game, you can go to our website, tothetwincities.com. We have a contact form there that you can fill out in like 30 seconds or less, or you can shoot us an email directly to info@tothetwincities.com. I've said that 1,000 times. While we're here, I'd like to extend my immense gratitude to the producer of the show, a Swiss Army knife of a human being, a jack of all trades, Paul of all trades, Paul Winkleman.
Hey.
Thanks.
Oh.
Thank you. Appreciate you. And today we're joined by our esteemed guest and arguably our favorite clients ever.
Erin and Shelby.
Hello.
Thank you for being here very much.
Thanks for coming out, you two. It's great to see you again. It's been a while.
Nice to see you too.
Yeah.
It's been a heck of a year.
How long has it been? How long have you lived here?
April of last year,
Yep.
we purchased our home. Yeah.
You could have said
We're here in some
you
change.
could have said longer than I've done real estate, and I'd be like, sure, that seems possible.
Just starting there.
Yeah, man. My timeline doesn't make any sense to me right now.
No.
I'm in a blur right now, but
That's fair.
that's cool. A little over a year. I guess we like to start with like take us back to before you moved here, before you were maybe even thinking about moving here. Where were you at? What were you doing? What did life look like at the time?
Yeah. Would you like to
To share.
share? I think pre-COVID, I think is
Yep.
the best place to start, or even before that, before moving to Denver.
Yeah. So we are from Minnesota, both of us. We actually lived in the metro renting years before buying. And in early 2019, we moved to Denver. And he got a job up there, so we picked up, we moved. And yeah,
Golly, sorry. Go on. I'm sorry.
Rude.
Continue. Sorry.
The professionalism is outstanding.
Yikes.
I just realized I didn't turn my phone off too. But anyway, in 2020, we thought we'd make Denver our home forever. And then 2020, we found out we were expecting our first child. And then COVID happened. And so, yeah, we thought, do we stay here where we have no family, or do we move back home? And we decided to move back to the Brainerd area because that's where I grew up. And so we were up there for about 2 years. And funny, like during like our son's morning nap, we'd actually watch your videos and
love
just
that.
like looking at, because we're already
Yeah.
familiar with the area. We know the locations. We knew what we liked, what we didn't like, and kind of where we wanted to maybe eventually settle down. And so we would we'd watch all your videos about the neighborhoods, and we would just chill out on the couch, and we just like
Yeah.
with the morning nap. And so
I think I simply went to YouTube and just
Yeah.
typed in Minneapolis, Minnesota, I think.
Yeah.
And I think for both of us, spending a good majority of our lives in Minneapolis and then living in Brainerd,
yeah.
no diss to the Brainerd area, but we definitely missed the Twin Cities. So I think we were like,
Yeah.
let's get our fill,
Yeah.
baby's sleeping. Let's watch videos about Minneapolis, Minnesota, like
Yeah.
a couple of dorks that we are.
Dude.
And there you were,
I am
staring me
yeah.
right in the face.
I am that guy. Like when I'm like interested in something, just have it on in the back. Like it's just like I just want to think about it all the time, and
Yeah.
that's kind of that's the whole idea of the channel.
Yeah,
You
and
know?
I think
You were like the only thing too. Like there was nothing
Yeah.
else out there that really actually dove into little pockets, little locations, and actually gave some like tidbits and information
Yeah.
Yeah.
about Minneapolis.
Yeah.
and the Minneapolis that we knew to love, because at that time, and when we moved back from Denver, we as in the Twin Cities was amidst the George Floyd
Yeah.
Yeah.
incident.
Yeah.
So a lot of negative political atmosphere and that whole thing, and we knew that wasn't the Minneapolis that we loved.
Yeah.
So that's
Where
what we
did you
wanted.
live in Minneapolis before Denver?
We were in the Richfield area.
Yeah.
Okay.
Primarily.
Yeah,
Sure.
most of our life there in Richfield. Yeah, and I think that honestly, our experience in Richfield really drove the experience we were looking for to buy our first home.
Yeah.
which
Sure.
is
South Minneapolis.
yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Not far from parks. Like we were super close to like Wood Lake, so I mean there was like nature around. You know, you had easy access to grocery stores and like stuff that you want within walking, driving, biking distance, and yeah, but it still felt like a good little neighborhood because there's also still residential there too. So
Yeah.
it's kind of what we wanted, really.
So what would you say? Okay, so impetus to move from Denver to Brainerd was having a kid
Starting a family, being close to family.
and okay,
Yeah,
and being able to afford
Losing a
life.
job will really do that to you.
Okay.
When
Yeah.
when COVID happened, like,
furloughed. I was furloughed.
Oh, yeah.
Gosh,
I
starting
haven't heard
in-
that word in a while.
Yeah.
Right?
the
Out of the
F word.
thankfully.
Yeah, I was furloughed. I think starting in March of that year, and that pretty much kicked off us moving to Brainerd. We moved to a family home in
Yeah,
Brainerd.
yeah. My mom was not living in her house, and she was like, "Not ready to sell it yet. You guys want to move here?"
It was
And
just
I
sitting
like,
vacant?
Not necessarily. Like she was kind of there, kind of not, and so she was
Yeah.
kind of moving on to the next chapter of her life, and so
Kinda
she
worked
just
out.
wasn't ready to let it go, but was gonna move. Was
Yeah,
gonna move in
yeah.
with a significant other, and so it was like, okay, we'll
Yeah.
keep it up for you for the time being, as long as you want us to.
Well,
and-
hello.
Yeah, twist my arm. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I mean, it was one of those things that I was super grateful for, but also it was like we still, you know, she wanted us to buy it. I didn't want to live in the town I grew up in,
Yeah.
to be fair.
Sure.
Love it there. It's great. Great look. I mean, great as a kid, but yeah, no, we like the culture. We like the food. We like the artistic scene, the music. We love what like a metro area has, and just Minneapolis is just
Hard to
you know,
beat.
Yeah.
It really is.
hard
and
to beat.
with like Minnesota schools and everything, like they're just, we've lived not only in Denver, but then we lived in California too, years, early 20s. And, there's just so much that Minnesota has to offer, just even from like a public school standpoint that
We just
it
had that conversation with someone today.
Yeah.
That's moving from Portland, or
Yeah.
thinking about it anyway. And yeah,
Yeah.
just like what's kind of considered standard or maybe average here is so much higher in terms of, the level of education in most of the rest of the country.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
When people are like, I'm looking for like good schools, it's like, okay, I need to know what that means to you.
Yeah.
Right? Because across the metro, there's so many good schools that what are we comparing this to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need the reference. Otherwise, it could be like 90% of the schools here might be better than where some people come from.
Yeah.
I know there are some places with like abysmal public schools.
Yes.
Like
And you have
across
to like
states.
pay
Yeah.
people pay so much for public schools, which there's nothing wrong with that, but it's like when you don't feel that public is really even an option.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
private,
just remember
yeah.
having
Yeah.
the conversations with people in California and even in Denver. They were like, I don't trust the public schools. And it's like, what do you mean you don't trust the public? What does that mean?
Yeah.
So it just kind of puts it into perspective. And when you grow up here, in Minnesota in general, it's just, you don't realize it until you think about that stage of your life. If that's a stage that you're in, like, oh yeah, this is important. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
absolutely. So Denver.
Where in
back to
Denver?
Minneapolis.
Sorry.
Oh, go
In
ahead.
Denver proper.
What neighborhood? I just know it weirdly well.
Lowry?
Sure. I'm familiar.
Yeah.
That's right, because
Yeah.
you do the.
My girlfriend lived there,
Oh.
and then I shot
Yeah.
videos there for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had a
Remember-
cute little
remember
spot
seeing
over in, it's not large, but yeah,
Yeah.
it was great. I mean, we loved it. I wish it wasn't cut
Yeah.
so short, but
Yeah.
it just,
It's awesome
you know,
neighborhood.
Yeah. It's expensive, and yeah.
yeah.
I mean, that's cool. That was just purely curious.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So yeah, anyway, but when it wasn't Denver, and obviously you had good reasons to come back, was there even before Denver, was there any other places that you had considered, or was it just either Denver or the Twin Cities in terms of where you'd end up long term?
I think familiarity had a lot to do with that.
Yeah.
And I think when we were looking early at Denver, we knew Denver proper was probably out of our price range just to begin with. So we were looking a little bit more north in the Loveland area.
Okay.
So we started to meander at houses and kind of drove through and kind of got the lay of the land. And then, I think, little Ezzy, of course, our son Ezra. And then, as weird as it is to say, I think COVID was a blessing in disguise that brought us back to where our heart is. I think the Twin Cities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. I mean, yeah, and even Loveland, it's like, it's more affordable. It's still more expensive than,
Right.
And you're so
Absolutely.
much further out. Like, it's a suburb.
Yeah. It's almost a small town
Yeah.
outside of the
Yeah.
metro. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be like a Northfield or something.
Totally.
Yeah, I'm
you
actually
probably know,
familiar
yeah.
with, my wife's
But-
sister lives in Windsor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So yeah, I've been in the area, but yeah.
Yeah. So okay, was there any kind of like deadline? I don't seem to recall there being one, but
To like move
yeah. Now
here.
from let's say from Brainerd. Now you're in Brainerd.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any kind of deadline?
Oh, we had some hiccups. Yeah. We, so the deadline was more so because we were living in a family home. My mom's like, it's kind of a hot market. Like,
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
guys don't want to live here, if you don't want to buy the house, like, I do want to sell it.
Yeah.
And
Did you
I
ever
would-
consider buying the house?
We briefly talked about it. We said, like, okay, would this be, like, could we? And I think
She'd give us a hell of a deal.
it was just one of those things where it didn't fit our needs from a just
Lifestyle.
a lifestyle. Yes, yeah. It has some of the things that we enjoyed, like outside nature, all that kind of stuff. But I mean, it didn't have all the extra things like
Yeah.
what a major metropolitan area has. So yes and no, I guess, but not seriously considering. So I think the biggest timeline was that she wanted to really get a good deal for her house. She wanted to get a good price on it. And so that was a little bit of a deadline. And then I had some issues work-related wise, because at the time I'm a dental hygienist. And at the time, because I knew we weren't going to be in Brainerd forever, I wasn't working at an office. I was working for a temp agency, and
Yeah.
I've worked for them for years on and off. And getting financing for the house, there was some issues in regards to like being a temp.
Yeah.
And so I had some hoops, and I was actually interviewing for a job that I'm at now down here with like, okay, I can start whenever we buy a house. And so, yeah, it was kind of weirdly, I had to work for a certain amount of time in order to show and prove my income at this new office. So I actually had to start 2 months prior to us moving. So I was actually
I remember that,
commuting
yeah.
back and forth, and I was down here for 4 days during the week,
Yeah.
where you were at home with our 1-year-old. Like,
Rocking out.
yeah, you guys were just hanging out. You were working, he was going to daycare. So anyway, so I was down here staying with some friends, and yeah, it kind of it was
Batch pad.
crazy. But yeah,
We had the batch pad.
you did.
Smoking cigars.
Me, Ezra, and Griffin. Just
Just the
every,
dudes.
Every Thursday evening, we had to like scrub.
Scrub.
Like, mom's coming home. Let's go. Right? Mostly in the crib. No, I can't say that.
That's so bad. Oh my gosh. We do not feed our child alcohol.
So okay.
I'll go.
Yeah.
So just in terms of like the home search, is there any like particular role that either of you played? When it came to like, okay, which houses are we going to see? How are we going to see them? We're in Brainerd. These houses are in the Twin or in Minneapolis in most cases.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, a big part of that was your team. We reached out to Jesse, I think September.
Yeah.
The September leading into the buying spring, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So we were a little bit early from that aspect.
Which ended up being good with the job thing, right?
Totally.
We had a little bit of a warning.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Oh.
we started that conversation early.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But in regard to responsibilities, we did our.
You did a lot. You did most of it. Come on. To be fair.
Don't
to
make
be
me, don't make me blush.
I don't in my job, I don't like have accessibility to a computer. Like I don't have my
Oh, right,
phone.
sure,
I don't like, so I mean, you were even scheduling stuff
Sure.
with Steve to over my lunch break, you were like, can you jump on this virtual tour? And
Sure, I
so
guess,
we did
yeah.
a couple of those.
Kind of forgot
but
about all that.
the ones that we were seriously interested in we would we there was a handful that we made like special trips down for.
Yeah.
And we'd, pre-plan them like, oh, this is coming soon. Or we had you go look at a couple of houses for us, and
Yep.
you do like the virtual tour and everything. So, I mean, it was like it was so stressful.
Yeah,
like
it was very stressful.
And because it was so hot, like everything was
Yeah.
like, the bidding wars and all of that. Like it was the craziest time to
Yeah.
try and like
Yeah.
buy a house
Bonkersville.
from further away. And we were only 2 hours away. Like, we made the trip easy, but it's still not something that you can just do like after work, at
Yeah.
night.
Shout out to those who actually are relocating from a different state,
Oof.
because even being 2 hours away, even with all of your help, it was stressful.
Yeah.
I actually have a theory that sometimes being within driving distance actually makes it worse.
I can see
Yeah.
that.
I believe that. Because you're probably, that's like,
You're like, I can just go down there. And it's
Yeah.
like, well, you can't just go down there. You can, but
But
it's,
I mean, like, I
it's a pain in
could,
the
though.
butt. Yeah.
I'm like right here.
Yeah.
I'm in front of the house. I can
yeah.
just go in, right?
I'm here, yeah. Where it's like a lot of the people we help, the whole search is like virtual.
Yeah.
And then they're under contract and then they come out.
I agree.
Sometimes.
It does feel like they kind of have to give that part of themselves over to be like, okay, this virtual thing, obviously it's not as good as setting foot in the house itself, but like if hopefully we trust these guys, they're gonna like point out as much as they possibly can in this video. And then if it's not an option to drive 2 hours to go see one that you think is really could be the one, then you
Yeah.
can just be like, okay, I don't even have to like that thought doesn't even enter my mind.
Yeah.
To be fair, though, I feel like the virtual tours were actually pretty great.
Oh, thank you.
Like that, no, like for me,
I like how he took that as a compliment.
no, and it is a compliment. It is. Because for us, like being so far away, like I remember this one house specifically, I think it was like the first house that we wanted you to go look at. It was in like the neighborhood that we wanted, or at least that we liked. And I remember you went there and we were talking about like the spatial, like the distance between the fridge and like you literally like were like, well, here's my, like you showed us everything and you kind of had it. And of course too, like you two are about the same height. And so it was kind of visually you made it, that was really easy. I think it was more so just like the pressure, the stress came from the pressure of like, if this is what we want, we need to hurry quickly. We need to be, like,
Yes.
Which would have been the case if you were here anyway, right?
Honestly, yeah,
that
'cause-
was the more stressful part.
It just was a very stressful part of the market, like a time in the market. Yeah.
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 Yeah. It's, I
And,
mean,
like, yeah.
that's a real thing, It's like in Minnesota, I guess, is some places it's like if it goes live on a Thursday and you haven't looked at it by lunch, you like don't have a shot at
Yeah.
it.
That's,
That's like-
how it felt.
I think here it's mostly you have Thursday, Friday, Saturday most of the time, but it's like that's still not that much time
Right.
to consider if this is a
Yeah.
place that I want to live. you
Right.
know?
Yeah.
It's a pretty big life decision.
Yeah. And I think, a lot of people like, luckily, I think most people, there's maybe like 10% of homes, most people could be like, I could live here within the right neighborhood. There's
Yeah.
like probably at least 10% of a house in the neighborhood that you want to be in would work,
Totally.
And so, but yeah, it's a matter of like, is this the right fit? And, there's a lot of that to do, but
Well, yeah, and it made it even worse, I think, and maybe worse isn't a little more stressful.
Yeah.
When our very first bid, I think, was was it the house off of Portland?
Yeah.
And it was not great, and we were
Yeah.
up against bids that were 30, 40, 50K over asking, and so that was our first kind of tippy
welcome
toes in
to
the
that,
water,
yeah.
and we're
And
like,
and they came
"Oh
back
my
and
God."
said, if you waive the inspection, the house is yours. And it's like,
looking at the house, you're like, this
doesn't,
probably needs an inspection.
this, yeah.
not the one to
This
waive
is not the
inspection
one to
on.
waive inspection
No,
for.
and
Yeah.
yeah, so that was the first one, and we were like, all right, nothing like starting down that path.
Yeah.
So that added another layer to like, okay, we need to know what we want, we need to know what our budget is, and we need to realize the neighborhood that we're bidding on and how, honestly, how far over asking do we need to bid, because that was the playing field.
Yeah.
And I mean, we did too. Like, there were and the crazy thing is every house that we look back on that we put an offer in on that we didn't get, every location, like maybe the house had more than the house that we have, like, or things that we liked maybe more than the house that we have. But where we live now, the literal spot is the best, I think. Like it just, it feels like this was meant for us.
Yeah. I think a lot of people, it's obviously very stressful, right? You see a house, you're like, I can imagine myself living there. Whether or not you, like, maybe 10% of houses, you could actually imagine yourself living there. Maybe more. Some people, my mom says, show me 3 houses, I'll want 2. Like, if you're...
I want your mom's book.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, she couldn't have both. But, you know, it's like you'll see all these houses. You can imagine yourself living there, so then you start to get emotionally attached to it, you know. But the reality is, it's like very few houses are unicorns. I say this a lot to people. Like, there's very few houses that you'll never find one that will be as good again. Like, and really common that somebody sees a house, they're like devastated that they don't get it, and they get a house that they're better, that they like more, and they're glad they didn't get the house that they were
That
devastated.
happens all the time.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a strange phenomenon.
It is a phenomenon. Yeah, you're like, it's crazy.
It is weird
But
that
yeah.
happens so frequently. I want to go back just quickly to, so you mentioned the kind of the offer writing, submitting process being the most stressful part.
Yeah.
And I think it's very common. Another thing that's very common that we see is, especially in situations where buyers need to write 3, 4, 5 offers to finally get one accepted, they go through kind of an evolution process of strengthening the offer as they continue to go, which is, I don't know, I can't remember well enough if that's something that happened with you. But I guess the question I've got here is, knowing what you know now, to make the entire process less stressful, would you have gone in stronger to begin with, or did you feel like you needed that to learn those lessons as you went through the process? Does that make sense?
Well, judging from our history, Shelby and I learned best trial by fire.
I think a lot of people do, because
Yeah.
and then from people who are, you know, standing in our shoes, it's hard to tell someone, like, okay, if you, especially in the first offer, if you really want to make this competitive and you're serious about getting it,
That's a hard pill to swallow.
This is what's going to
You know.
probably take.
Yeah.
And it's almost always people will be like, well, let's just try it at list price and see. And if it doesn't, then, and that's part of the evolution that I was talking about. That, strengthen over time.
But I think a big part of that too, Steve, and this is where I'm actually going to feed you a compliment. This one you just don't. This one you don't have to take out of nothing. Just kidding.
Okay,
I'm
well,
just kidding.
he's building it up, and now it's going to be disappointing.
There were, through our bidding process, the house that we have now, it was our 5th offer. Your guidance through that process was a huge part of the decisions that we made. Because I remember specifically for that first one off Portland, I could tell in the hesitation of your voice, even you were like, I don't really know if we should, like, judging by what you're telling me, Erin, I don't know if this is something that we should, like, push this hard on. Trust me, and I remember specifically, trust me, there will be something else coming down the way. So I think that's a huge...
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that goes to what he was saying. It's very rare that there's a unicorn, that it's like,
Yeah.
but it's also difficult to not get really emotionally invested when you see one and you're like, yeah, this feels right.
This is an aside. I had one client who, out of nowhere, he hits me up. He's like, there's a house in Mound. It's a very unique house. It had like a mother-in-law suite above the garage. And he's like, there's a house and I need this house. And I'm like, okay. Like, like instantly I'm like, well, that's not that easy,
Was it for sale?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Yeah. But it was like, it had hit the market.
Knock on the door, explain the situation to whoever's living there.
I am sure people do that all the time. Okay,
Yeah,
anyway.
for sure.
Okay, so it was for sale. All right.
So it was for sale.
Okay.
And he was like, it had just hit the market that day, which, as you know, Thursday, Friday, Saturday,
Yeah.
that's normal life expectancy. This was at peak craziness of the market. And he's like, I need this house. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, you pre-approved? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. That's something. And and it was a VA loan, which is historically not always the most competitive loan to get accepted, and it was really hard because like the trial by fire thing, right? Actually, I think that's valuable, and I think most people need to try a few times and then not get it. I think that is a harsh reality. But this guy was like, he said, I want this house super bad. If I don't get this house, I'm not looking for like 5 years. Like, it just was like, unless this house comes up again, like, for whatever reason, maybe it was next door to like an ex or something. Like, I literally don't know why. He was like, I need this house. And I was like, okay. But it was very difficult to like talk him through what offer need to be made. And he's like 10K over. I'm like, dude, like, it's not going to happen. Like,
Sure.
Like, I know this is hard for you to believe, but you're telling me you need this house. Like, it needs to be like, that was like a $400,000 house. It was like, it needs to probably be closer to 440, 450, because it was sick too. It was like a really interesting house. And I was like, you don't have the luxury of time, like, to figure out what it takes. And it was a very,
Or a bargaining chip.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you can't like
it's this one or it's not. So
Yeah.
like, the only way that happens is if you make like a proper offer that most people would have to be 4 offers in to be prepared to make that offer.
Yeah.
But yeah, he got it though. It was wild.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Impressive.
But it-
you. That's good.
yeah, it was very hard to talk him, like, to like talk him through it and be like, I'm not telling you this because like it's fun.
Yeah.
You know, like,
It's tough to, and I mean, the numbers we usually use, especially, like, it kind of depends on the time of year. You know, like when you guys were looking, it's probably the most competitive, and it
Right.
was, you know, the pandemic, but it was also just every year, March, April are the most competitive. And to tell someone, even before they write their first offer, like 5 to 10% over is not uncommon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and that is difficult to comprehend.
Yeah, and not only that, but I'm forgetting the technical term for it, but it was the offers that would match
escalation.
escalation
yeah.
clause,
Yeah.
the escalation clause. Those two.
Oh,
and-
sure.
Oh yeah, those are. I mean, and yeah, some agents don't want to use them. Some, you know, like, yeah, there's some dinosaurs out there who are like, we don't.
Sometimes
They're
the
too hard
listing
to
agent
explain.
Will convince the seller to not even to write in the listing like no escalation.
It's so frustrating. Yeah. But yeah, you know, the terms get wild, and I'm like,
Inspection's another one that you mentioned. Like that's
Yeah. Yeah.
a very common one that people
Where people just-
sacrifice
yeah.
to get the offer accepted.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
But I do
oh.
think one of the things for me in regards to putting in the offer and everything on our house that we have, I remember we were having the conversation because we had went and saw it, and we were like serious about putting in an offer, and we were going to go under list price. And I remember you saying specifically, because it was like 10 days on the market or something, which
Yeah,
was
it was
kind of weird. It wasn't like,
That's a rare bird.
it was a very,
Yeah,
it was
very
kind of an
rare.
interesting situation. But you said, if somebody else is walking this house right now and they offer them list price, will you be upset if you don't get it?
Yeah.
And you read that to me because I think it was either in a text message or something. And I was like, yes. And
Yeah.
so then that influenced too what we went in on for like aggressiveness. We like, you know, we went on and of course list price of 2 is one of those things that it was like unheard, it was crazy
Yep.
that
Yeah.
they hadn't had any offers and that we offered at list price.
Yeah. Are you able to jog the memory? Do you remember the situation with the whole house?
I do. Well, I remember the
fact.
fact that it had at least made it through the first weekend, which is that's the you know, the likelihood of like really intense competition that's
Yeah.
going to result in multiple offers, which would go over, you know, or the winning one likely is going to go over list price. All that decreases significantly once it makes it through one weekend on the market. But it's still a situation where the seller is not they're not motivated to drop the price within, you know, the first 2 weeks at least. You know,
Yeah.
maybe, and it depends on the seller and their whole motivation, but just
Psychologically,
Yeah.
most sellers are like, why would I accept a lower offer? It's been 10 days.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know, but psychologically also in a really hot market,
they can get
after
freaked
5
out
days,
'cause
they
they've
might be
heard about all
yeah.
the people who are, you know, getting over
Right.
list price offers, and so
Right.
so yeah, but yeah, no, like I think one thing I've learned over time is because we can't tell anyone what to offer.
Of course.
We can explain what the likelihood is based on what offer you make, based on our experience and what to expect. But obviously we can't tell you what is going to win, and we can't tell you what,
Right.
But
You don't know.
It's helpful to encourage people to think about it in different ways to let them come to that decision on their own. And so, how bummed would you be if you didn't get it at this price is, I think, a good way of also thinking, not so much as like, how badly do I want it, but how sad would I be if I don't get it?
Yeah.
Even, would I feel silly? Would I be like, should have done it? Yeah.
Lost another one.
Yeah.
No, and that worked.
Yeah. What areas were you considering?
We were considering, Minneapolis in general, kind of. We kind of stayed a little bit closer to like South Minneapolis. Gosh, did we go as far? We went over. We thought about the Howe neighborhood. We went on the other side of Hiawatha, didn't we?
Yep.
But at least we thought about it.
Yep. We thought about the Howe neighborhood. We very briefly thought about Highland, McAllister, Groveland.
Mackerel. Yep.
And then thought about Richfield, of course.
We
And
thought
then
Bloomington.
Yep, West Bloomington.
Yep.
And our top choice was the Kenny Armitage neighborhood.
Nice.
Yeah, which is where we landed.
Yeah. Love those spots. Yeah. Okay.
Miraculously.
Yeah. It's funny when we started.
It's kind of weird to think about it.
We
Yeah.
started back. This was like before reaching out and everything. We had a list of the neighborhoods that we would want to live in, and this was probably this was probably late 2019.
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
Yeah.
No, this was 2020 because we hadn't thought about moving back home yet. So we had a list, and it was funny because Armitage was on our list, but we just didn't think it was honestly within.
Yeah.
Like, it's our first home. Like, we haven't ever purchased a home before, so it's our first home.
Yeah.
We're a little bit late to the game, but we're like, oh, well, maybe.
Yeah.
That's where we ended up.
It's a crazy sounding vehicle. Yeah. but yeah, Armitage has like a huge range of housing stock. It's kind of wild, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the most, for being like a micro neighborhood, it's not like a whole community. It's not like Southwest. It's
Right.
like that. It's one of the
It's a
biggest
piece of.
ranges. Yeah. Where
And
like,
it's the only place that I can think of by name that has it's got like the 40s 1.5 story right next to a 2,500 or more square foot
New build.
There's literally one a block away from us.
yeah.
There's a couple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just,
Where
Yeah,
they
like-
just like take the top off and put another house.
Oh
on
yeah,
pretty
yeah.
much, right?
There is the top. The whole just like roof off, adding another. That's an interesting thing there too. But yeah, it speaks to. There's only certain neighborhoods that would happen in, and it has to be kind of the right combination of desirability. Schools a lot of the time is
Right.
part of it, and then,
Yeah.
but then the housing stock that isn't wild to scrape, right? So like
Sure.
maybe there are great schools in.
Scrape means totally demolish.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like it's like fairly modest housing stock from like an original standpoint,
Yeah.
50s post-war era stuff.
Yep.
And so it's not like this like historic home, whereas like a Kingfield or something.
Sure. Right.
Like those houses are older, bigger, and yeah. So it's like the
Much
idea
more
of
likely to get renovated as opposed to
Sure.
torn down and built
Okay.
up.
Yeah,
Right.
it's just like an interesting dynamic, and there's only a few places like that. Highland Park actually is, some of that is happening, but not that much. Some people are very used to their whole neighborhoods being scraped.
Yeah.
Denver, there's a couple places that come to mind in Denver where it's just, yeah, but I'm thinking like, what's the really bougie?
Cherry Creek.
Cherry Creek.
Oh, yeah.
There's like no original homes there anymore.
No.
Yeah.
First time I went there, I was like, "This is Denver." Like I thought that's what Denver had become or something.
Right.
Yeah, it was like really like holy crap. Yeah,
Bright-eyed and bushy tailed.
yeah, so weird. It was like Beverly Hills,
But seriously.
so strange.
Yeah.
And but I like that there's like the older homes have enough character and enough livability that like I don't think it's going to happen where like every house is scraped and there's only new builds there. I just
Right.
don't see that happening.
No.
But yeah, there's enough like there's enough like modest homes that probably have gotten run down that it's like nobody's really crying if you scrape, a poorly
Yeah.
maintained like 55,
Yeah.
story and a half or something like that. But
Yeah.
But honestly, like, so many people, they just have such like house pride.
oh yeah,
You know,
I
like
love it. Yeah.
I mean, there's a couple houses just down from us where it's just like immaculate yard and just beautiful. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
they've
really
done some
pretty.
additions off the back, but I mean, it's just for the most part, and maybe I just feel like maybe we got lucky with our block, but I mean, like people have a lot of house pride,
Yeah.
home pride,
Yeah.
neighborhood
Totally.
pride.
Totally.
And it shows, which
Yeah.
is awesome. You don't see that in the dead of winter, right? Like,
yeah.
you don't know
Yeah,
what
that's a
it's
good
going to
point.
look like until everything kind of thaws and you're like, oh yeah.
Yeah, well, that was a nice surprise.
It was a nice surprise, and actually how like friendly and welcoming everybody is. Like we've made friends with our neighbors, and yeah, it's kind of great. It's again icing on the cake. Like you go
Sure.
through all of that kind of hassle, and it really wasn't even that long of a time, right? It was really kind of just like hot and heavy.
Yeah,
like you
yeah,
just
yeah.
went in, and it was just all these offers. What, it was probably like 2 weeks. I don't know. It went so fast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a blast.
But it was, it was kind of, it's refreshing to be like, okay, this feels right. Like it just fits.
Sure, that's so great to hear.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm thinking, so for anybody who's watching, maybe Armitage is on their radar. Like, why did you choose it? And never mind.
What was your
So-
perception of it before? Because you've mentioned a lot of great things about it since you've lived there that you wouldn't have known before. I mean, your neighbors and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
like, what about it before you moved there drew you to it?
Well, to be honest, we, pre-child, we had scooters. And we would scoot around all those little neighborhoods, and we would just like envision what life could look like. What if we lived here? What if we lived there? And it just kind of, that specific location, and then also like adjoining, you're close to the parkway, you're close to little restaurants and stuff that are like a couple blocks away that you could walk to. And then just for us, like hop over 62 and you've got Galleria, Southdale,
Sure.
you've got Target,
Yeah, proximity
Cobb.
to everything that you
Yeah.
need. Centrally located in the Twin Cities area for the most part. I think maybe a better way to state it is that maybe we didn't learn so much since moving in. Maybe we have confirmed a lot of our thoughts
Yeah.
and opinions that we're already hoping were there, I think.
Yeah.
That's
Just a
cool.
benefit of having pretty great neighbors.
Yeah,
For sure.
that's great. I mean, yeah, I love that. Were there spots, and I don't know how much of this you were doing, were there spots that you were considering? Okay, you mentioned Mac Groveland, Highland Park, you
Yeah.
mentioned Howe. Were there spots specifically that you didn't vibe with, that you thought maybe were on your short list and it didn't quite do the trick? Or was it just not a matter of houses?
I think I was set on an easy location for me since I have to go into my job. I didn't want to be in a location where I would have to drive from a really far distance. I don't know. I don't love traffic. So I'm just like, as long as I can get home in a decent amount of time and get there in a decent amount of time. So I kind of put a little bit of a radius on how far out we would go. And then I would like map it and be like, okay.
Okay.
Is this
So not
close enough?
vibe, just like location was the big
Yeah.
reason.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
And if I remember correctly, of the 5 offers, our current home included, I think we were Bloomington, West Bloomington, Richfield, Armitage, Standish, and Bancroft, I think.
Corcoran. Wasn't there one in the
Corcoran.
Corcoran neighborhood too? Something like that. Maybe that was the standard.
So I mean, that's kind of popping around, but it's all within,
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all okay. You could bike from the furthest one to the, and
Right.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
and it wouldn't be wild.
Yeah.
Okay. How did the logistics of the move, how did you do it? What were how did you get your stuff from Brainerd to Armitage?
Do you have any tissues?
Yeah.
We,
Go ahead.
yeah,
Yep.
sure.
Yeah.
We, stupidly, because we have moved quite often in our lives, California, Denver, Minneapolis, back, we figured, we can probably just do it again.
No
We've done
problem.
it before.
We don't have that much stuff.
We got tons of friends in the Twin Cities that are going to help us. Wow. What a terrible, terrible experience.
Just
More-
text left on red.
To be, and then also, so like we had a deadline of like, okay, it's a Friday. We are going to move on a Friday,
God.
and we're going to get everything, done. He can stay home. Son can stay home from daycare. It's no problem. We don't need to do Friday. He can stay there. We can do this. We can do it all over his nap time. That was my thought. Wow. So naive.
Wow, that's ambitious.
nice.
That
Yeah.
was ambitious.
Very nice.
Because in my head, I'm like, we've done all this stuff already. Like, we've cleaned up stuff. We've put it all together. We got this. No.
Nope.
We called our daycare lady, or asked her, the day before. And we're like, will you take him one more day, please? Because we cannot. And we still pushed it to literally the last possible minute.
Yeah.
It took us that long to, just
Yeah.
pack everything up.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we did the whole Penske truck, moved everything ourselves pretty much. Had the little car tow behind. Shelby drove our little guy and the dog down here, and then that whole experience is just too much with, at that time, a 1-year-old.
Yeah.
And a 2-year-old puppy. It was just too
It was chaos.
logistically
It was chaos.
chaos.
It was like
We're
leaving.
still
We left at what time? I don't know. We had to stop and get dinner. We didn't get down here until 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
The kids sleeping. It's just it was no bed in the house. There was
Did you move
literally-
in on closing day, or did you?
No.
We technically did. We had a small 10-foot truck the day we closed with
Okay.
some items and just the two of us to get started.
Yeah.
Cleaned, did all that kind of stuff.
And
but
then
it was the
yeah.
following weekend where it was gangbusters and pretty much the whole house moving in.
Yeah. So we
Higher
had-
movers.
Yeah,
I was just about to ask
That's-
anything you would do differently.
Hire movers.
movers.
If we ever move again, we are hiring someone. I will probably pack everything just because I'm a freak about that kind of stuff. But I don't want to put it in a truck. I don't
Yeah.
want to take it off a truck.
No.
Never. We don't want to drive the truck.
Yeah.
I would, yeah. You get to a certain age. I don't know what that age was for me, but yeah, just
we had a-
spending a full day of
We were
lifting
there.
things.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Not realistic anymore.
It's
Yeah.
one of those things if on the day of move-in, some strangers, some fit strangers showed up and they're like, well, we'll do that for a couple $1,000. You'd be like, oh my God, yes, please. Right? You'd be like, take my money, but because when you're planning it, you're like, I don't think I really
We
want
can
to
do
that.
it.
Yeah.
The optimism is there.
Yeah.
And it's
But
you're
day of,
ready.
if you had the option, you'd be like, oh, all day.
100%.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like upgrading a seat on an airplane. It's when you're booking it, you're like,
I
and
always
then
do
you're
that.
in the plane and you're like, God, I'd kill for that exit route right now. Yeah.
Yeah. I always do that.
Yeah.
Got
No.
these giraffe legs. They don't
Yeah.
fit in there.
Same, man.
I
yeah.
hate
Yeah.
flying.
Okay, that's cool. Do you remember how much it cost you to move?
Do you?
All in at probably $2,000.
Okay.
If even.
Which is pretty affordable.
Yeah.
But it's a
Yeah.
nightmare. So,
And then,
Right.
Yeah.
What's the price of your sanity?
yeah.
We weren't going that far. And, we're not going across country. We
True.
were just going a couple of hours south. So, yeah.
True. Cool.
Okay, so you're officially, you were residents of Minnesota, I guess, before, but you've moved into your new home.
Yeah.
You've been there for a little over a year now. What do you hate or like least about where you live?
About where we live?
Yeah.
And that could be Minnesota.
Yeah, it could be.
It could be your neighborhood.
Doesn't have to be the house specifically, but yeah, the Twin Cities.
We are, we're fairly close to 62 crosstown. And though for us, it's not, okay, you live in a metropolitan area, there's noise,
Yeah.
right? There's always noise. And
We're
the
dealing with
garbage
it as we
truck.
speak.
but so my only concern, and this is not something that I know is happening or if it will ever happen, is if they ever expand 62 and make it wider, it'll make it closer to us, and that may be a downfall. Because the closer you get, because we're the closer you get to it, obviously, the louder it is. But other than that, location-wise, no, I really don't. I mean, there are things about the house that I'm like, but
WT.
that's more so, you know, just like knowing it going into it. Like, we knew the kitchen was smaller. I knew that, and I was like, it'll be fine. And now that we're in it and living in it, we're like, I cannot wait to make this kitchen bigger.
Yeah.
But the beauty is like, we've got a great size lot, and like, we've got the ability to put an addition on, like every other 1950s house has.
Yeah.
On the back of it, where they put either a family room
Sunroom,
or
right?
something. So, but other than that, I mean, no, to be totally blunt and honest, like, I could live there forever.
Yeah.
I really could.
That's awesome.
I just love it.
That's good.
That's
Yeah.
great.
I don't know how he feels, but
Hey, you got any thoughts on what you hate the most?
you're not going to hurt my feelings.
No, I for the most part, I feel the same. Sometimes I'm like, God, this little house, just because of my height, you know,
Yeah.
Sure.
not necessarily the ceiling heights, but the thresholds are not built for a 6'3"
Yeah.
human. But it's not. I don't think any of them are nothing we can't potentially change.
Or alter or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. So, but the neighborhood, I think, and I credit this to Shelby for saying all the time, is that you can change the house, but you can't change the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Not easily, anyway.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
that's
With decades of like effort, maybe, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. That's cool. What do you like the most? And it could be about Minnesota or whatever, but probably let's stick to the spot. The single thing you like the most about the Armitage neighborhood.
I love the proximity to things.
Yeah.
It makes it super easy if I want to just, I mean, honestly, if we want to come downtown, like, it's so easy to get on 35. It's so easy to get on 100. It's so easy to get places.
Yeah.
Without where we're at specifically. Like, it's just, it's so conveniently located. But then too, it's like, it's a mature neighborhood. So, I mean, you've got these big, beautiful trees, and we're lucky we're on a corner lot. So, like, we've got, it just, though we're in a,
She doesn't shovel in the winter, though. So
Yeah. Corner lot. Yeah. That's what came to mind actually for me. Yeah.
okay, well, you offer. So, but no, it's just, yeah. God, you made me lose my train of thought now. Anyway.
The mature trees.
The mature trees.
Developed neighborhood, or kind of.
Yeah. It's just a great little spot.
yeah,
Cool.
It
It's
just is.
It's a great little pocket of the Twin Cities, and I think for me, we've really lucked out with our neighbors. Granted, again, we're on a corner lot, so
You only have.
we have one neighbor, but our whole block is, everyone's been super awesome.
Yeah.
So I've heard some nightmare stories out there. Love the house, love
Oh,
the
sure.
neighborhood. Neighbors are not great.
Yeah.
So we lucked out there. And I think safety too. I feel very, very safe
Yeah.
in our neighborhood, especially with a little guy,
Yeah.
our little 2.5-year-old.
It's really just like training him to not run.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
Like,
The
I mean, really, that's the hardest thing. For the most part, I feel like there are, families, people who've been, there are people who've been in their houses in our neighborhood for 30 plus years. You've got some people who, some people who just moved in or whatever. You've got a combination of people, and everybody is really, like, we've been there for a year, and we have, like, we went on a walk the other day while our son was still at daycare, and our neighbor's like, where's the little guy? Like, where's your son? And it's like, so, like, they know,
Yeah,
it feels very much like a community in the sense of, like, they know, I'm sure people are probably, like, watching, right? As you would, right? You want to watch for people and, like,
Or even just noticing.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Watch. Yeah. Noticing is the better word. But it's just nice to almost feel like we were welcomed with open arms, right? Because people
Yeah.
are just like, oh, hey, how's it going? How's this? How's that? We love what you're doing with the place. It looks so nice.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah.
That's nice to hear, because we actually, fairly frequently joke about the Minnesota nice thing not really being kind of a canard or not being exactly what people would expect.
Yeah.
But yeah, everything that you're describing, not that you're saying that it's because it's Minnesota, but there is that element of it.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, and I think that everyone who has a house or a home or a condo or wherever you live, you want to feel welcome there. And so to just kind of like come into the neighborhood and be like, people be like, oh, hi, how are you? You guys bought down, and actually have conversations with you about, you're the new people, right?
That's
So
awesome.
it's like, it's kind of nice to just, feel a part of the neighborhood immediately.
And sort of brought in.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah, I mean, especially people who've been there for over 30 years. It's like,
Yeah. I'm sure they've seen like the turnover.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
People who have been, I mean, I'll speaking from experience, there is like a sense of ownership that people who've been there for a super long time can feel about like the entire neighborhood. But yeah, to be welcomed is
A huge part.
very nice feeling. I got a quick question. I'm curious, has your impression of the Twin Cities in general changed? Because you guys lived here and then moved away and then came back. Has anything changed about your impression of just like either Minnesota or the cities in general?
I have one
Go.
that is always top of mind. Minneapolis and the Twin Cities in general is very clean. You might not think that every day, but you go to other cities and the street sweeping is simply just to dole out parking tickets. They don't actually clean the streets. It's one thing that I've definitely taken for granted of the Twin Cities is how clean it is.
Right. You've almost, that's interesting. I feel like you've almost been given perspective by leaving.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Of like, oh.
Very
yeah.
much so,
Yeah.
110%.
Yeah.
We also take for granted, I think, all the trees and the greenery we have as well. It's
And
kind of
like
amazing.
mature trees.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's honestly kind of amazing to watch, some of your videos and you have those overhead shots.
It's
and like, wow,
crazy.
look at all the right. Are there even houses down there? You can't
Yeah.
tell.
Actually, this is kind of inside baseball, but we were figuring out thumbnails to do for this podcast, and we made a few, and we were just like, man, I mean, like, yeah, it's okay. And then what we ended up on, we realized like we put more blue in the background, and it was because next to all of the thumbnails that are actually of the city, anything without blue looked very strange because there's blue in all of the thumbnails because there's water everywhere.
Interesting.
It's always a drone
Okay.
shot with a title, and so yeah, when it was like anything that didn't, it was just like, why does this look funny? Like, why does this look so jarring next to that? So we put blue in the background of the thumbnail because it like fits in, But yeah, specifically Denver. I like Denver. I think I could live in Denver for sure. But when I go there, I miss trees and water above all else, and it's dirty.
Yeah.
Dirtier than
Yeah.
here. It's not like yeah.
Yeah. It's not perfect, but
Yeah.
I think Minnesota in general, it's like gosh, this is going to sound super cliche. But especially like those who live here know this, but when you're coming on 35W and you're going north and you have the skyline,
Pretty sweet.
and maybe for me too, like so much of my, like the pivotal moments of my life have happened in Minneapolis, like just growing up, coming down here to go to school and like early 20s and so on. It's like a warm hug. Like I see it and it just feels, yes, I've left and whatever, and weird circumstances have brought us back. But every time we've come back, it's like, gosh, this just feels
Yes.
right.
Yeah.
It feels right.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about because I
Yeah.
grew up in the south suburbs. So at pretty much any time I was driving to the cities, I was on 35 going north, and I feel the exact same way. A warm hug is a great way to describe, and that's coming from someone who's lived here almost his whole life. So maybe somebody who's relocating here wouldn't exactly feel that, but it is an incredible view, and there are certain times a day where it's like sun is setting, all the buildings are like light purple,
Yeah.
just like start
Yeah.
tearing up.
Yeah.
Yes, it's so true. But I mean, like, to be like moving to California, moving to Colorado, like, I was looking for that moment, right? Like the moment that when you drive in and you see, or you're driving into like Minneapolis and you see the skyline and how that makes you feel. Driving into Denver, the way that we went through, what's that?
Commerce City.
We went through Commerce City, which is like industrial.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is Denver.
Yeah.
And so that was also kind of like a little like dirty in my mouth, where I was like, this doesn't feel like what I was expecting. And then even too, driving into LA, like you have to kind of get past all of that, and then it's like, then it's the ocean, or get past it, and then it's the mountains. Here it's almost like it's there. You can see it from
Holistically.
yeah, and it just feels good. I don't know. It's hard to explain, I think, unless you see it and visualize
It's
it.
designed. I think it is a design. It's intended to give you a feeling like that.
I mean,
you know?
whoever did it was a genius.
It
works.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have a hard time believing that wasn't on purpose, and it's like
Sure.
it works. You know,
You're probably right.
Yeah, but it's awesome. Yeah. Okay, quick thought experiment, and then we have a game that we're going to play.
Okay.
But I think you kind of buried the lead on this thought experiment. That's
I had
okay.
already answered, but we'll ask anyway.
So you have two choices, hypothetically, literally.
Wait,
right
is this
now.
We're going to fund our new kitchen?
Yeah. So, okay. You have two choices. One is to take your current home, the four walls and the roof, and move it to your dream lot.
Okay.
In the Twin Cities.
Could be,
Okay.
in the Twin Cities. Sickest lot you can imagine.
Okay.
Or you can take your dream home and put it on your current lot.
Oh my God, I know my answer immediately. Oh my gosh, I know my answer immediately.
You want to go first?
Dream home on my current lot.
Yeah.
Ah.
Okay.
I would agree.
Cool. You're one
Maybe
of
the first guess
Agree.
that I was going to say that picked that.
Oh, yeah,
I feel
yeah,
like
yeah.
most everyone
That's true.
is.
Take their home and put it on. I love our little house. I love the character and everything. I mean, it's perfect for our size of a family. It's just three of us plus a dog. But there are definitely things, and I even think when we were touring it, I was like, okay, this isn't perfect, but it'll work for now. We can always alter it as we need to. You can't change. You cannot change the location, and
That's
I
why
feel
they
like,
say location.
and it's totally, I think, more now than anything. I believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
And very few
Cool.
people agree too. That's
Also true, yeah.
Very few couples agree on that.
Oh,
man.
dude,
It's funny.
high five up top, baby.
Yeah, that's very funny. Okay, now we're going to play a game called How Minnesotan Are You?
Oh.
Okay. You obviously have a lot of
We're
history
expecting a
here.
high score.
Yeah, I would
Where did you
expect
grow
a
up
pretty
again?
high score.
Owatonna?
Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
Shout out to
even
Owatonna.
that name is Minnesotan.
Go Huskies! Right? Is that a thing?
Are they the Huskies?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, gosh.
Okay, we're just going to ask you questions as quickly as you care to answer.
Some
them.
are experience. Have you had this experience? Some are, do you own this object? Some are
Okay.
opinion based. So
Okay.
And none of them are
Options.
innately, well, some of them are pretty only
Directly
Minnesotan,
Minnesotan.
but others are more to give a background, to color the painting, right? You might be like,
Okay.
well, you could do that here. Yeah, we know. Okay. So it's like, it's the overall picture.
Okay.
So first one, easy. Have you been to the state fair?
Yes.
Okay. Have you
multiple
been?
times in a season.
Yes.
Yes.
Have you ever worked at the state fair?
No.
No.
Have you ever? That's a good one.
That is.
Have you ever been to the state fair for anything other than the state fair?
Yes.
Okay, like the fairgrounds.
For what was it for?
My family grew up raising horses, so they were
Equestrian.
equestrian.
I knew this. Yeah.
We always get people always are like, or not always, but they'll be like, "What would you do there?"
Yeah, for what?
We
Yeah.
always
Oh.
list the same like three things.
Oh, I was
Yeah.
thinking like for a concert,
Oh, okay.
right?
Sure.
Isn't
But,
that normally during the
Yeah.
fair though?
yes.
But that's what she's saying. Like,
But,
your
like, was
intention
your
is to
int-
go.
Got it.
Yes, and so no, I have not. Just to eat the food.
Fair. Have you ever?
Right. The state fair.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you ever had? Have you ever gotten state fair food not at the state fair?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Have you ever had hot
Cheeseburger.
dish?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Made hot dish.
Yes.
Okay.
Have you made hot dish?
How do you know?
I'm asking. Have you made
Yeah,
hot
I've made
dish?
hot fish. Okay, so I've helped make hot fish.
Okay.
growing up.
Of
course,
okay.
Helping mom.
yeah.
I should make sure.
I do stuff.
This is an obvious one, but maybe this is just fun for you to know that this is part of the questions. Have you ever been to Brainerd?
Wait, seriously?
Yeah.
Is that a question?
Yeah, of course. Like, or do you even know what Brainerd is?
Oh, yeah.
Do people answer no?
Sure.
Several. Well, think about the first guest we had moved from LA and have lived here for less than a year.
Okay,
So
that's fair.
They're not very Minnesotan, but
That's true.
part of the fun.
I suppose.
Okay. Yeah,
Hearing
Brainerd is like.
people wonder, like, what are you talking about?
Terrible name. Yeah.
Yeah, no, yes. Very
All right.
familiar.
How about, have you ever driven on a lake?
Yes.
No.
Not, okay, I've ridden in a car.
Sure.
Fair.
That
Yes,
counts.
on a
That
lake.
counts.
You might be the
Terrifying.
first. I'm a big fan personally.
Well, I grew
yeah.
up in Brainerd.
Yeah, true.
So.
That's just a way of life. That's getting
It's a
across
way of
town
life.
almost. Yeah.
Oh, hot dog. Yeah.
Yeah, the entire
Across
city's
town.
on the lake.
That would be cool.
Do you know how to fillet a fish?
Yes.
No,
You can do that?
I
Okay.
can.
I can't.
Good for you.
I don't. I choose not to.
Have you ever caught a muskie? Sorry, I keep
No, you're good. You're good.
No?
No.
Have you ever caught a crappie?
No.
No, I don't
Have you ever
fish.
eaten a crappie?
No.
No. No.
Like, crappie is just the most Minnesotan fish name of all
Oh, I was
time.
going to say like a sunny,
Sonny.
Yeah.
a sunfish.
Bluegill.
Yeah. Yeah. I've caught one of those, but I don't.
That's not a question.
Have you jumped in a frozen lake?
Yes.
No.
Okay.
You've done that?
Yeah, I was high school. Didn't you just do that? Weren't you just telling me about that the other day? How you
Not in a
jumped
frozen lake.
Oh, okay.
No. No. I intentionally
Polar
went
plunge.
into
Follow-up question.
whatchamacallit? What are those? The cold bath.
Ice bath.
Oh, I
sure.
see.
I've done
Okay,
one
okay.
of those,
Got
but
it,
no,
got
I've
it.
never jumped into a frozen lake.
A little different if nature is making it cold.
That is
Yeah.
true. Yes. It
And
was
if you're
man-made.
if you're chainsawing a hole in the lake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. No.
There's a Minnesotan statement.
True.
right there.
Yeah.
Are they in a flannel?
ever
Then that
seen
makes sense.
Chainsawing a hole in the lake.
Okay. Yeah, I'm adding that.
Okay. Have you ever had lutefisk?
Yes.
No.
Have you had
Have made
lefse?
it?
No.
Yes.
Lefse, yes.
Lefse.
Yes.
Oh man, that's so good. Grandma's lefse.
Made it? No.
Okay.
I don't know who would.
Have you ever hit a deer?
No.
No.
Have you ever sat in a giant Adirondack chair?
Yes.
And probably the first yes we've got.
Yes.
Now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Keeping
Most
that-
people are like,
Oh.
huh? Yeah.
Fun fact, I actually worked at a coffee shop in Nisswa, Minnesota called
Wow.
Adirondack.
Wow.
And it was full of Adirondack chairs outside on a little porch.
Do they
It was
have a
super
giant
cute.
one?
No, but there
Depends
is a
on
giant
your
one.
age.
Relative to your size. Have you been to a meat raffle?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Is that the kind of podcast? I don't think I have actually.
Yes, like there's like elementary schools and stuff. They do that kind of stuff. I remember.
Is spaghetti dinner uniquely Minnesotan?
That feels like
We used to-
I
yeah.
know about that
I mean, we
from
did
New York
from-
cross country like
Soccer.
before
we do
before-
soccer.
Fundraisings.
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask around.
Yeah.
Yeah. People
Might-
who
we
aren't
might
from
be
here.
adding that. Okay, how often do you reference the 1998 NFC Championship game with friends or family?
Never.
Never.
Have you ever done a laundry basket full of pull tabs?
No.
No.
Okay. Have you ever gambled in a bar?
Yes.
Not on sports.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. How many of these items do you own?
Okay.
Flannel button up. Mm-hmm. Yep. We're starting easy.
Yeah.
Canoe paddle.
Nope.
Does a mini one count?
Yes.
Is it for decoration?
I think it was like something.
It's not for canoeing.
Silly question.
I think it was like something like, you know how you would win like those mini twins bats
Yeah,
or
okay.
whatever? I think it was something like that.
novelty.
Yeah, yes. But I remember having one.
The
as a
spirit of the
kid.
question is as decoration, not so much for actually canoe paddling, but either apply. But yeah,
Yes.
I think that counts.
Half a point?
Purple Rain on vinyl or DVD.
No.
Okay. Snowblower.
Yes.
Yes.
Anything with the words Grain Belt Premium on it, including beer.
I mean, aside. I mean, I have purchased Grain Belt.
At one point.
At one point. He said, even Grain Belt beer, do you just like keep it on hand and just never drink
If it's
it?
in your cooler right now, I think that applies.
Okay, no, it does not.
Okay.
Mm-mm. Nope, not current.
Cooler too. Wow.
I just came from my past. I drank about 50 beers
We have a refrigerator, Steve.
over the last 5 days. Okay.
That's a
So
lot
I
of
lost
beer.
my place.
That's
Yeah,
10
it was-
beers a day.
It was.
That's a lot.
I might have to cut that.
Yeah.
Clip that.
Yeah, best in the Twin Cities right here. When he's not drunk,
Fourth
he's
of
still in your
July.
house.
Okay, fishing rod.
No, not current. I mean, as a kid, but not currently.
Okay. Any book written by or about a famous Minnesotan?
Does a book on a Kindle where they are based in Minnesota count?
Not really, but well, partial credit.
Every question.
Minnesota Twins baseball cap.
Yes.
Okay. Easy one. Minnesota State Park seasonal pass.
No.
And we'll
So sorry.
We'll end with Patagonia puffer jacket or vest.
Oh.
Nope.
Nope.
All right. That's still like what, 6 out of 10?
Yeah, that was a pretty high owner. That's probably more than me to all those questions, to be honest. But
Okay.
yeah, what do you put your groceries in at the grocery store?
Reusable bags.
Yeah, tote.
Say that word again.
Reusable tote bags.
Bags. Okay.
Bags.
Bag.
Roof.
A little louder.
Bag.
You say bag.
Ah, that's pretty close.
I say bag.
Bag.
Yeah, bag.
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 Okay. Cool. That's the first one of those we've had,
What?
where it's closer to bag than bag.
Bag.
Yeah.
Bag.
We're bag. We're bag family.
Yeah, you're bag.
We're a bag family.
Yeah.
Bag.
I like
Don't you
that.
know? Don't you know?
I have said oofta in the last 24 hours.
That was
Okay.
one of my
Oh, you've been saying
questions.
oofta a lot
It
lately.
has just flown out of my mouth lately.
Yeah,
I don't know
to the
why.
point where our little guy is like,
That's awesome, honestly. You say ope regularly?
all the
I do,
time.
yes.
Our
too.
toddler also says ope in the correct
Yeah.
way.
Oh.
Yeah.
Almost run into something. Oh.
Oh.
Yeah.
And then he'll say, excuse me. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. No.
Have you ever given somebody a buck that is not $1?
No.
Okay. Pegs?
Pegs?
Pegs on a BMX bike when you're like a preteen.
No, I did not own a BMX bike. But my
Did you
brother
call it
did.
giving it a buck?
Like if you were someone going to ride on the back of
No.
BMX center.
I
Never-
literally thought you were talking about a deer.
So did I. So did I.
Okay.
I've
Just
never,
here's
I've never
a deer.
heard that.
Okay. I'm curious if like,
This might just be a Apple Valley thing.
but
We
no,
grew-
Malcolm said it too.
Oh, he did?
And he grew up in like Nowthen. So,
Okay.
Are these what those current kids are talking like?
as a kid, it was like, hop on, I'll give you a buck.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Nope.
Weird. You know what a biff is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is it?
It's the shitter.
Okay, yep.
The Biffy?
Do you have any sense of pride about the following things? The Mighty Ducks.
Yes.
Like ownership? You take some ownership at all?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Fargo, the movie, or the series?
No.
No.
Not
So
the
the
location?
the lead of that, or the protagonist, is the police chief of Brainerd. That was what inspired the Brainerd question.
Yeah.
Oh, really? See,
Yeah.
I've never seen it.
Oh,
I'm not
check it
gonna lie.
out. Yeah, it takes
I don't
place in your
remember
hometown.
Oh, wow, look at that.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Jingle All the Way.
Yeah.
Husker Du.
Say the what?
Husker Du.
Bless you.
The Replacements. Okay.
Do you know how to make a Midwest martini?
No. Something with pickle juice?
Well,
Close.
have you ever had a beer? Yeah. Have you ever had a beer with olives in it?
Yes.
Tons of olives.
Yes.
So you know how to make a Midwest martini.
What is that then? That's what it is?
Coors Light with olives.
Oh, see, it was
Or
always
whatever,
it was
like-
always McGolden
God.
light. Yes. It was always McGolden.
That qualifies.
Yeah.
That might be the more true example.
Yeah.
Yeah, McGolden. I think that's it. That is what it is. Yeah. I
Yeah,
think it's
McGolden with
McGolden, which is a
olives.
uniquely kind of It's not from here, but it's like it's big here.
It's very yes.
Very big here.
Yeah.
Have you ever witnessed a fight at a hockey game?
Yes.
Have you ever witnessed a fight between parents at a hockey game?
Yes.
No.
Yeah, that is
Wow.
that is
You're
uniquely
number
Minnesota.
one,
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
of anyone we've
I grew up
played
in
this game
Brainerd.
with.
Yeah.
It's like hockey
are-
central.
Okay, this is for my own sake. Have you ever heard the term "heavens to Murgatroyd"?
Yes.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
The
okay.
Jetsons.
Is that what that's from?
Isn't that what
I
that's
think
from?
so. I think so.
Okay.
My
Yeah.
mom said that when I was a kid. I've never. I didn't know.
My mom said it too, and then once for a while I thought it was just a
came
thing
up with
she
it.
made
She-
up because
oh.
nobody else knew what I was talking
Yeah.
about. Okay.
Can you name a Semisonic song other than Closing Time?
You probably can. I
Not
cannot.
in the moment.
But you've heard other songs by them.
There's one that's
Is it
there, but I
Singing in My
don't.
Sleep.
What's that?
Singing in My Sleep. Is that the song?
I don't even know this.
Okay.
I don't remember.
What are they from, Minnesota? Oh.
Yeah. Okay, this is not a question.
Okay.
This is just something that I just heard at an antique store in Buffalo.
Okay.
A lady said, "What you up to?"
What you up to?
What you up to?
Yeah, and I literally went,
What you up
"What?"
to? My favorites
you
are
up
the did you eat and what did you have? You know, jeet,
Jeet? Yeah.
jab.
Yeah. Jeet? Jeet? Okay, you got any other ones?
I'm just curious. More Minnesotan sounding name: Sven Sundgaard or Joe Mauer?
Joe Mauer.
Sven Sundgaard, I think.
Yeah.
More Minnesotan?
Especially
Mauer.
with the Minnesotan accent on it. Sven Sundgaard.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like-
come on.
I love Sven Sundgaard. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty.
The weather.
I agree with you, Shelby.
But he
Joe
is,
Mauer is
but
the,
also he's like synonymous with Minnesota. Like
Yeah.
so
he
is Sven. Well, I mean,
I
maybe,
guess
maybe
Sven
less
and
so
Ole.
now,
Yeah,
but-
they always talk. People.
I was
talk,
gonna say,
but
have you
that's
been to
like-
Sven and Ole's?
But that's like old school Minnesota, and I think Joe Mauer's like new school.
Sven Sundgaard was the weather person on Care 11. You might be thinking of someone else, but yeah, he was.
I was just thinking. I didn't know.
Yeah, the weather dude.
So sorry.
Okay.
The weather dude.
You got any others?
Oh.
He's got to go in 5 minutes, so we better wrap up. You
I got
ahead.
one more.
Yeah,
Oh.
go.
Are you?
Oh.
Have you seen this man?
My yes,
Okay.
Grandma's kitchen,
Yeah.
and there was a matching lady on the other side.
Grandma's house. Yeah.
Okay.
What a
Yeah,
wonderful way to end.
Thank you.
you seen this man? Is he missing?
Seen this man.
Okay.
Have you?
It's a uniquely Minnesotan thing. I don't know if you know that.
What?
That guy.
Really?
He's huge in Minnesota.
What is it?
And other people don't
I've
know who he
seen it
is.
before too. I don't know who.
I think it's just called a praying man.
Okay.
I think they had a good salesman somewhere in Minnesota selling that picture and in this frame.
At the church,
where
at the
did you get
church
that?
meat
Yeah,
raffle.
I feel like
I got this at the antique store where the lady said, "What you up to?"
I feel like that. Yeah, that works so great with that frame. It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah, it's like built. I
Yeah.
swear it's built in.
They come as
Yeah.
a pair.
Were
Yeah.
there any more of those? I might want to get one for,
Yeah, where'd
for my
you get-
garage.
I got it from Buffalo, antique store in Buffalo, where the lady said, "What you up to?"
Okay.
Yeah.
And is there only one in Buffalo?
Antique store?
Yeah.
This was either Annie's Attic, or Buffalo Nickel. Both are pretty cool.
Sweet.
But I think that was Annie's Attic.
I dig it.
Yeah, which is also where the lady said, "What you up to?"
What you up to?
Which sounds like a lake, by the way.
It does.
it does.
Okay, Lake what you up to. Do you have any parting wisdom for anybody who's in your position, at least what you were before you're moving, whether relocating or just buying a house or anything like that? Anything that you should have done differently, wish you would have known, things like that.
Well, this isn't to blow smoke, but like reaching out to you guys was probably, I think, the best decision. I felt,
Very nice of you to
Thank
say.
you.
and I say that because I truly mean it, because it really kind of felt like a guided partnership, you know, like you were there because again, first time home buyers, no idea what the heck we were doing. And
Yeah.
so like, I felt you were super open, super honest about everything. You were like, okay, here's my wisdom, here's my guidance, you know. Truth be told, this is probably what I would do, but you
Yeah.
know, whatever.
Talked
it
us
was,
off the ledge a couple times.
yeah, it was really truly great. Hire movers for sure,
Yeah.
especially if you're going a long distance, obviously. But yeah, I don't know. Minnesota's awesome. It's cold in the winter, but it's great in the summer. Even the winter's fun. I mean,
Make it fun.
yeah, you make it fun.
Cool.
It's great here. Minneapolis
Anything
is awesome.
specific?
Hire movers.
Yeah.
Hands down.
It's a good one.
I like
Hands
make
down.
winter fun. That's just general good advice. 'Cause
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't really come up so much in this conversation, but that's a big. When we ask like, what do you hate most about where you live? I think the first inclination people have is winter.
Cold.
But
It is cold, but also too, like if that's the worst it gets,
Oh, yeah.
right?
It
Like
hardens you, you know?
Yeah.
oh yeah.
it also kills off everything. So like we get a
That's what I'm
nice, every spring we get a nice fresh slate, right?
Yeah.
And we don't have hurricanes and terrible bad weather. I mean, yeah, we get a tornado now and again, but
Yeah.
if winter's the worst it gets,
Yeah.
and they're really good about plowing for the most part. For the most part, this last year was a little crazy, but they
Fair.
right? Like
Yeah.
for the most
It just
part,
was so much snow.
Yeah.
I don't.
How-
Yeah.
And there probably wasn't enough people, whatever.
Yeah.
But it,
I don't know what they could have done to be better because it was just so much snow.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yes, but as Minnesotans, we complain about something. It's usually the weather.
Yep.
That's what we talk about. So
Cool. In the interest of not having a Minnesota goodbye, thank you.
thank you so much.
And we'll end it here.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you guys very much.